Order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ralph, please start us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynn, would you please do the roll call?
Mr. Locke?
Here.
Mr. Zilli?
Here.
Mr. Eckel?
Here.
Mr. Munt?
Here.
Mayor Lynch?
Here.
Dr. Finley?
We have the award of landscape maintenance citywide. Sandy, are you going to do that?
The memo was sent out that our department.
You can take that down because I think we can. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Our department recommends that we do not award this project. It's far exceeded the dollar amount that we have budgeted for all landscaping. So we will address that under the budget amendment farther down in the agenda.
Okay.
Sandy, just a quick question. I don't know, maybe you or Joe can answer this. Do we know why there was such a difference between the two quotes? Have we been able to figure that out? I mean, it was like what, $100,000, $150,000 difference?
Mm-hmm. I think that it might be relative to one's union and one is not.
Got it, okay.
So do we want to move forward with 4.2, award landscape maintenance, Garrison Center, Burns Parkway, North Side Trail?
Don't we have to make a motion not to accept that award?
So if we're still on, I don't
Okay,
have it.
you're right.
So Madam Mayor, I would suggest that you receive a motion to not award any of the bids.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to not award any of the bids received for the citywide landscaping.
Second.
We have a motion by Colin, seconded by Ralph, to not award any of the previous bids that were submitted. Is there any questions?
Yes. In your memo, it says that the quotes were from the same company for less work completed. And I compared it to what the last bid was, and it seems like there's significantly more than what they did last time. So
As far as the amount of work,
yes.
I think it all depends. Over the past couple of years, you know, the scope of work has changed.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back and forth between, you know, what the city is going to do and what redevelopment has done. But the quote itself was it far exceeded what we've seen in the past. So regardless of what it actually says in the memo, it exceeds the dollar amount we have in the budget, and we just can't award it regardless of,
Right.
of what it came in at.
Yeah, and I'm curious though, as far as what we specified, knowing as of 2019, the last time it was awarded, in comparison, the scope of works, how we could not expect it to be significant anymore.
We as a department were asked to quote out the work, all of the landscape work. We put a scope together, we quoted it out. That's what it came in as. Obviously, the Redevelopment Commission doesn't have the money in their budget, so we have worked a way around it, and hence the reason of the change or the amendment number 2 in the budget is that we are going to use our own forces. We're going to hire part-time people to actually go out and do it. Therefore, we aren't paying a company. We're paying part-time people to do the work with the help of the park department and Joe Eberts in our department managing those people to direct them as to what to do.
Okay, and that'd be 4.2 then?
That is under 5.1.
Okay. So then just on the bids here, then there's no other option but to whether decline them all or non-award or whatever the motion was.
Yeah,
It's just the citywide.
It's just-
Correct.
We're still
The citywide
considering the
part.
Garrison Center
It's just
and Burns Parkway
4.1 at
North
this
Side.
point.
Yeah.
Right, the bids from last meeting. Correct.
Which is one of the bids from last meeting.
So
There were
this
four
was-
different-
We bid them out separately?
Yes, yeah, there are many,
Okay.
many items. You know, there are 14 points, but then the total of the sum of the 14 far exceeds what we have budgeted.
Correct.
Right.
Are there any further questions? If not, Lynn, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Locke?
Yes to non-awarding, right?
Yes is
Yes.
not a word, yeah.
Mr. Zilli?
Yes.
Mr. Eckel?
Yes.
Mr. Munt?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Thank you, Sandy. 4.2, landscape maintenance, Garrison Center. So, yeah, we can move on to that one, right, Dan? We don't.
Yes, ma'am.
Burns Parkway and North Side Trail.
So as per the memo from our department, it is our recommendation that this project with these 3 locations be awarded to Allen Snow Removal and Lawn Care in the amount of $35,250.
For the,
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Alan, seconded by Colin. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Sandy, just to confirm, we're not doing these internally because they're of either the size or where they are, and that's why we're deciding to go with Allen's on these instead of doing these with part-time staff.
That is correct. All 3 of these projects, they entail mowing and landscape maintenance. Street Department, they have enough to deal with the mowing, so we are taking responsibility with our RDC-owned properties with the mowing and the maintenance. And we figure that we are just going to have whoever is doing it take care of everything on that site under that contract.
Are there any more questions? Greg, do you have more questions?
in the past, I looked again, and we did not remove the mowings at the prairie over by the NERC building. And this time we are requesting it.
That
Is
is
it
under line
2019?
item 4.3.
What's that?
That's 4.3.
That's item
Okay.
4.3.
So this is just the Gary tenant, okay.
Yeah, so 4.2, which we're looking at now, is the Garrison Center, which is the property around the old Garrison School, the Burns Parkway, Northside Trail. So Burns Parkway, it's the mowing of the parkway, and the Northside Trail is the trail that goes in through the wooded area that is just north of 6100 Southport Road. So, you know, it's cleaning it up, it's maintaining the canopy over it, cutting down whatever trees need to be trimmed or whatnot, and maintaining the surface of the trail.
Okay, I guess my concern too is that we're line iteming everything out instead of looking at it all together and taking the change in the budget, doing it last instead of encompassing it all together. Picking and choosing and parceling things differently instead of holistically, if that kind of because if we're adding everything up, the total for landscaping, including the proposed doing it ourselves, totals basically $125,000.
The purposes between the different lumps in the projects was type of work and ownership and availability of who could possibly do it,
Right.
trying to invite different companies to do different types of things.
Right.
So that's why we have the 3 different quotes. Does that answer your question? Did I not understand?
No, I guess my question or concern or comment is that we're doing it individually instead of packaging the whole landscaping together in one fell swoop. Like we do one is impacting the second and third line item, and we're addressing the budget as the last line item when the first and second is gonna be impacting everything. Like making this action impacts 4.2 and 4.3, so on and so forth.
Well, unfortunately, we probably should have addressed the approval of the amendment to the budget first, but because that's new business, it generally comes in after old business, and the bids or the quotes were old business from last meeting, so it's
You can
just.
take it out of order.
I mean,
You can take it out of order. You want to do
I
the
mean, we
budget?
can address the budget amendment before we address these. I mean, is that your concern, Greg?
Yeah, it just seems like we're doing everything a little bit backwards and being more reactionary.
Not really.
of the
If you read what the
system.
budget proposal is, it isn't. Because
What's that?
we're dealing with we're dealing with contracts on this, on line items 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4, whereas the budget adjustments are for personnel and pay.
Correct.
Right.
And the
So-
budget adjustment.
Even
adjust-
though the purpose of the pay and the budget moving is for landscaping, they're two different, so I don't see the difference, and I don't see any confusion on why they should be one before the other. This is fine, I see it.
Okay. I guess I disagree in that what we're taking as far as landscaping, doing it ourselves, as far as putting out the bid and having someone else do it, we're picking and choosing instead of having a package like we have done previously.
Well, Greg, I think that the first part was basically landscaping and plantings and weedings, and this other part is more mowing, isn't it, Sandy?
Correct, it is. So, for example, 4.1 is more pulling weeds out of beds, putting some plantings in, some perennials, some annuals, and replacing some mulch, watering throughout the year. 4.2 is that on a few pieces, but the majority of it is mowing, and then you have the aspect of the trail and the material of the trail and replacing that. So that's, you know, a specialty in and of itself. And then 4.3 is completely different. It's maintaining a prairie. It's not just mowing it, it's trying to get rid of the invasive species and things like that.
Okay.
So it's not like just grass mowing, it's not going out there and mowing like you would your yard or along Burns Parkway.
And I mean, we could have lumped all of these into one contract, and it would have been like $300,000 if we had lumped them all together.
And then we would
instead, we're
be
just
deciding,
splitting
what do
it
we
up.
do now? Are we gonna quote
Right.
again, divide it up and quote again? And if you recall, if you look into the quote documents from 4.1, you'll notice that Joe has listed like each individual location and got a price for each individual location. Because in the past, you know, we've just gotten a quote for everything, and we didn't know what area cost what, and that's always been a question of our department, and we couldn't tell you how much this island costs to maintain as opposed to this roadside, you know. So we tried to divide it up so that we knew how much each area is costing us on an annual basis.
Right, I understand that.
Okay.
Well, Greg, if you remember, we didn't do this last year.
Correct.
This wasn't done, the previous year wasn't done under this administration, so we're just trying to do things a little bit differently and work within a budget that is very small.
I agree, and I'm hesitant to run into what we ran into last year, constantly going back and forth, and
Right.
that's why taking care of it now would be advantageous.
And that's what we're trying to do. You know, we want to award 4.2 and 4.3, and we're hoping that 4.1 is going to work out the way that we anticipate, where we're going to hire part-time people similar to what the park does with their properties, and be able to manage those folks and get them to these locations that were included in 4.1 and get those areas maintained and taken care of under this group of people. Last year, we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the people, we didn't have the time to do it, and therefore things got neglected. And we're hoping that doesn't happen. We're hoping to get these people or to get the budget amended so the Parks Department can help us out by hiring these people and we can get them out there right away to get things taken care of before they get out of hand.
And that's 5.1.
I'm sorry,
That's 5.1, right?
the budget is
Right.
5.1, yes.
Okay.
But the budget amendment is because of 4.1.
Correct.
That's our solution to the cost that we saw in the quotes.
Mhm. Okay.
Is there any further discussion? If not, Lynn, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Locke?
Yes.
Mr. Zilli?
Yes.
Mr. Eckel?
Yes.
Mr. Munt?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Now we have 4.3, the prairie maintenance at 6100 South Court Road.
Per the memo AJ sent out, it is the department's recommendation that we award it to Allen Snow Removal and Lawn Care in the amount of $13,500.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Colin, seconded by Ralph. Is there any discussion? I'm looking at you.
No, yeah.
Well, I can't see the mask, kind of says, do you want to say something? Okay. If there is no further discussion, Lynn, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Locke?
Yes.
Mr. Zilli?
Yes.
Mr. Eckel?
Yes.
Mr. Munt?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. We have 4.4, the award of the Armor Stone Shoreline Restoration at Lakefront Park in Riverwalk.
If you recall, last meeting, we accepted quotes for the armor stone and the delivery of such up to Lakefront Park. We received one quote, and it was from Shoreline Aggregate Solutions in the amount of $92,000. We would recommend, or our department recommends, that we award that contract to Shoreline Aggregate Solutions in the amount of $92,000.
Does everybody understand what that's about? I know that Superintendent Leibowitz is here from the National Park, if you have questions for him. Does anybody have questions for Paul?
And we're just providing the rock, or redevelopment is paying for the rocks and street department is installing the rocks.
Correct.
Well, you kind of want to explain what's going on up there so that, I was out there the other day, and so I see that they're busy out there.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So I'm Paul Labovitz. I'm the National Park Service Superintendent here at Indiana Dunes National Park, and thanks to the city, we're going to try to pull off a project that we've been talking about for years, if not decades, which is if we knew then what we know now, how we would have designed the protection for the pavilion there at the Portage Lakefront. And so given the high water of the last couple of years and the intensity of the storms, we've learned a lot about lake dynamics, and the installation that's there now is not adequate to protect the building. The good news is that the lake is starting to go down, and it might not be a serious problem for anywhere from 0 to 15 years, but we know it'll be a problem again, and it'll be even more expensive to protect the building, and we're trying not to leave a problem for the next generation. And so the National Park Service, working with the city, is trying to procure enough armor stone to extend the breakwater south and west to curve around the front of the dune that is in front of the pavilion right now. We have purchased about $11,000 worth of stone that's on the site now, but it's only enough to do the node, the knuckle we call it, the entrance to the breakwater, and the material the city would produce and help install would go all the way around the curve to where the dune ends. And so we are unable to, in a timely way, get the money and the materials to do it. The city has offered to try and help with not only the material, but also some equipment and operator time to basically implement an emergency plan that we've developed in response to the lake level and erosion. So, and I will tell you, because of the lake levels, the armor stone supply is in hot demand all around the Great Lakes. And so the prices are fluctuating by the minute. So this is we're trying to actually get this work done in time for the Labor Day weekend and the kickoff of this summer.
When our equipment's down there, are we able to get when our equipment's down there, are we able to get out the sidewalks and everything that have been in the breach?
We are talking about bringing back as much as we can, if not all of that rubble that's in the lake right now, including the former observation deck. It's got some weight and construction issues that we'll have to see if we can demolish it and drag it out and demolish it, or demolish it in place and drag out the pieces. We had a meeting with the city earlier this week. Your guys are great. I will tell you, there's no future for them in the federal government because they are can-do kind of folks. And I was really, AJ was there, you were there. We had a great time envisioning actually getting something done. So we're very excited, and right now what stands in our way is just having the material there to finish the job. If not, in 15 years, if you're still in office or serving on the board, you'll be dealing with a $500,000 expense for half the rock, is my guess. This is the never-ending story of Lake Michigan. So yeah, they sense my excitement and frustration with this. I've been here 7 years, and I've been reading about this in past newspaper articles for about 4 decades. This conversation comes up about protecting things, and the work just never gets done because by the time we plan on it, the lake goes down and people don't want to deal with it. We got to fix it.
We do. Well, thanks, Paul. I'm glad we're able to help you and protect our lake and the building.
Yeah, you know, the Portage Lakefront is the most visited site within the Indiana Dunes National Park. That site is busy all year long, almost all day long, because it's the only place where you can drive up and actually see the lake without getting out of your car. And it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but if you have mobility challenges, that is your park experience. It's a great spot.
It's a great spot.
Yeah. So any questions, please, happy to try to answer them.
Okay. Questions, guys?
Paul, with all the studies you've done, you're confident this is going to make a difference? Yes,
we had, I almost hate to say it, we did an emergency response study for the high water when previous Mayor Cannon said the building was going to slide into the lake. The building is fine, but another couple years as the existing breakwater and the old ramp deteriorate, the building is in some jeopardy if there's more storm events. And so our plan called for that rock extension. We're actually going to change the orientation of the access to the breakwater, bring it further upland and curve it in, and then use all that real estate, which is out of the lake, to protect the building. So yes, we're very confident. We have a civil engineer on staff, and we had marine engineers as consultants from our regional office come in, and we're very confident this is going to work.
Thank you.
Great, that's good news. Any other questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. There you go, Paul.
Thank you so much, and we will see you down there. Our food vendor will be back too, so we should all meet down there and enjoy a sunset.
I was there a couple of days ago. I brought somebody out there to see the lake, so. Yeah.
It's a terrific place, and through all of COVID, that's the place I've spent the most time in the last year, which is great. Sometimes for not the best reasons. So, thanks so much.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, we have new business. We have 5.1, approved RDC budget amendment number 2. Okay, Sandy.
You know, AJ sent out the memo for the budget change. As you can see, it appears that January 21, we approved $140,000 for landscaping, lawn care, snow removal. That isn't going to cut basically landscape maintenance for citywide. So he's proposing to move $65,000 of that to payroll, and that would cover It would pay for the labor of our seasonal labor, our part-time seasonal labor, to maintain these landscaping sites. And he has another $25,000 for supplies. We're thinking, you know, for any killed off dead plant material, replacing that, any annuals that we want to put in, mulch if it needs to be pulled out and replaced. The park department has agreed to let us use whatever equipment they have. We might find while we're doing this that we need something. Obviously, if we purchase it, we'll be storing it separate from the park department so that we can use in the future for these services for this board.
How do we go about purchasing? Do we have to bid? If we need 1,000 yards of mulch, do we have to bid that out, or how do we do that?
I'll let Attorney Whitten answer that.
So if we're gonna, so the question is if we're going to be purchasing things that are under, we're not gonna get to a threshold, we can send out, 3 different requests, what would it cost, and then we can just pick the best one. It doesn't fall under the bid statute and all that stuff.
Okay. If we allocate 25,000, do we have to, every time we need a plant, how does that work?
So we can allocate an amount that is, that the director can purchase without coming back for board approval.
I think
And up to, and I think we have that.
I think we have an allowable limit. I'm just not sure what it is off the top of my head.
Right, I don't remember either because, and the reason I'm a little bit hazy is that I think AJ was contemplating making some changes to that. So we're
Right.
going back around. So to your point, we have a threshold of what we you guys budget it. AJ has an amount that he can spend up to, small purchase allotment. So
It's not like, I'm just kind of thinking it's not, if you purchase $10,000 of mulch and you're only getting $1,000 at a time, how does that functionally work?
I can't imagine why AJ would purchase 1,000 at a time, but I mean,
And an as-needed basis instead of,
so he's
storing it type
yeah,
of
so
thing.
he's under his threshold with that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, Dan, I think there's a city ordinance about small purchases by department heads. I'm
Yeah, I didn't want to necessarily reference that because I have a little bit of questions with it, but yeah, there is.
okay.
But there's something
So the
very
other thing,
antiquated
Greg,
here.
just to let you know that, I met with Joe this afternoon even, some areas that are, we're gonna try to preen some of the areas so that we don't have as much weed control to have to do. We're gonna try to get in there and get those cleaned up and then not have as many plantings in there. We're gonna try to manage what we can and not have excessive because it's too much.
Okay.
I would love to have flowers all over the city, and I hope someday we will, but right now we're managing our budget, and that's the priority here.
And this is going to be a new crew. This is our first time doing it, so I think that we're going to be attacking a lot of weed growth and excessive growth of existing plants. And until we figure out exactly how this is all going to work for us, we may not be planting anything. We may not be replacing anything, until later on this year where we may have time to actually have these conversations with the board. But it's really, getting out there and trying to head off all the overgrowth.
So we will need a motion to approve 5.1.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
Second.
We have a motion by Collins, seconded by Ralph. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Any other business for commission meetings necessary today?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Collins, seconded by Greg to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.